My cabbages! Low, low, man. Ah, my cabbages!
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Andrew Esquires, Legal Minds. We teach you to be your own judge, and today we're going to get to sentencing Somali. Last stream was defending Somali. Now we're sentencing him. How many years behind bars? We are finally going to get, after all of this time, after so long, an accurate range, a realistic number, a non-clickbait, based on the Korean sentencing guidelines numbers that are reliable, that are much better than just saying he's going to get the maximum amount under Korean law, which I've now found out that a lot of the numbers that I previously had calculated are actually too high, so we have to revise the number down based on some new laws that we read and kind of applied and thought through. Now that we're in the phase where we know roughly how many charges we have and what type of charges we are. So we're gonna get some realistic numbers today, guys, which is something that's completely new. And it's based on us providing new information. As always, I provide the best I have at the moment, but the second I find better information, boom, we update it, we get it for you, and we get it out there for you today. So we're going to get the realistic number today. Some of you may be angry, some of you may be happy, but it's real, it's truthful, and that's what we bring you on the legal mindset. So let's start here. Forever Minu Dreamer for 99 says, love these updates from Legal Mindset. This is way better than a hot tea. Enjoy this moment with a good cup of coffee. Thank you, Legal Mindset team. I need some coffee. It's been a long day for me. I was feeling a little bit down and a little bit sick. And I've got another trip tomorrow I'm going to be on for the next 4 or 5 days. So I may be kind of minimum updates. If there's something huge, I'll try to make a quick stream on it or a quick video on it. But I will be kind of hitting the road for a couple days. So that'll be a little bit less. But so I always try to make sure I have some streams up and some videos up, some good stuff for you before I do anything like that. Reservoir Piercing, thank you for 5 Legal Mindset memberships. I saw those. And also say, building my smoker and digging a fire pit. And I catch a Legal Mindset stream. F yeah. Well, I'm saying F yeah because I'm trying to keep the swear jar not filling up here. But thank you for that. Appreciate that, Razor Wire Piercing. Rigo, gifted 10 late, and hey, the Scuff Man has made his return. Today was really bad. Today was really bad.
Emotional damage.
It was pretty bad today. My streaming software was not working with me. Things were crashing. The fast fax wasn't uploading properly. There was all sorts of shenanigans. But I'm here, and once again, I always appreciate you guys dropping the support here, and thank you for all of you being here and smashing the like button, which is always very, very much appreciated. All right. We've also got Radek Galan as a member for 8 months. Thank you. KK Kerbal said, late and Scuff Shortman, PP issues, a lawyer arriving precariously after he was meant to. The PP is fine today. It's actually a small PP because I have some PDFs. Unhinged Valkyrie gifted 10 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
Somewhere Ramsey is seething about those memberships, which is more than he's made in 6 to 8 months. Neko Girl 862 for 10 says, perfect time for entertainment while I fix my sewing machine. Thank you. Hey, what's up? Well, good luck with your sewing machine. Hopefully it gets all straightened out. Min Squatcher for 50, I think Belarusian, says, first we'll see Mindset for 5 minutes of lateness. Seems more atrocious than what V and R did combined. Oof. Michael and McCoy for 5 said, good morning from Alaska. A great way to start my morning. 4 hours till some well-deserved time off. We'll enjoy it. How's the weather in Alaska? Is it like warming up yet up there? I mean, I've never been to like Alaska in May. I don't know. I imagine it's probably still cold, but I mean, that's an Alaska stereotype. I don't know. How it is. But anyways, I hope you're well. Stay warm up there if it's still frosty. HT says, thank you for your coverage of the Cabbage case. My pleasure. I am seeing this thing through from beginning to end. So I'm seeing this from, until sentencing. And by the way, if he tries to appeal the case, which please, dear sweet God, let him appeal the case. It will be hilarious as he fails. I will cover that too. So I am going to be on this all the way. All the way. Stephen Miller says, Andrew, off topic, what are your thoughts on Take It Down Act getting passed? Well, it's actually interesting because now the U.S. also has deepfake laws. So in case you didn't know, there was a act that was passed. It's related to deepfakes and specifically sexual deepfakes, which now, all of those arguments of Hanky Poo and Ramsey and them saying, oh, America this, America that, you can't get arrested for this in America. Actually, now you can. So there you go, right? Once again, if you're doing something sexual and it's non-consensual, you're going to get in trouble in America or in Korea. So I think that isn't necessarily off topic. I think that's actually a good thing. And I am very much opposed to non-consensual deepfakes. I think they absolutely should be punished, and they platforms should take them down. JP Ravenfire for 1. Thank you very much. Taco World for $14.99. Oz says, for the swear jar. Crikey. Got it. Thank you so much. Jordan Joestar for 1. Thank you. Juan Mojito for 2 says, is RKI eligible for hard labor prison? Depends on the charge. Some are with labor, some are without. But with the deepfakes, it is possible he can get labor. That does not mean he will be forced to necessarily, but it's possible, right? Possible. Outlier Ava, a member for 11 months, says, Andrew, I'm so sorry, Andrew. I accidentally called you legal on a React stream. I'll start my apology haiku soon. Hope you're doing well. Always great to catch a stream. I'm going to need you to put yourself in sackcloth and ashes and walk around my city 7 times in penance, flagellating yourself with the cat of 9 tails, and then I'll let you back into the club. But thank you, Ava. Appreciate your apology. Geodax or Lodesac says for 20 pounds, nice to catch stream. Busy getting a legal doc for a possible 3-month process. Oof, but this could be very cathartic. Thanks for the content. Wonder how many crazy VTuber stuff is going to happen. Is going to be when it happens. VTuber stuff always gets crazier. It never gets less crazy, and there's always more happening. There's always more happening in the VTuber world, which is why I like covering those issues. Jopi 1992 for 100 Swedish krona says, a court has to presume innocence before guilt, but an individual does not. It's defamation to proclaim a person is guilty before judged a person guilty, but as long as you say, I think, it's fine, right? Yeah, so here's the thing. You can say, I believe this person is morally guilty, but you can't say they're a convicted criminal. That phrasing, right? Guilty can be a word you use in a moral sense or a legal sense. So saying someone is guilty, you're not going to get hit with defamation of that necessarily, right? Because there's a context in which you can use that. Somebody can be morally guilty, but not legally guilty. So someone could do something immoral, it's not necessarily illegal, right? Or you could believe they're guilty, and that's not necessarily going to get you caught up in a defamation case. Also, you have to understand with public figures, especially in America, there's a higher standard. And also in other countries, there's different law, right? South Korea's defamation law is much different than America's defamation law. But here's the other thing with the presumption of innocence. People kind of misunderstand how this has worked when I'm talking about it. You're presumed innocent, but if you it's like a starting line. The presumption is innocence. And then if the prosecution presents enough evidence to pass that ball and to convince a jury or a judge that you are guilty, then what you need to do is you need to now present counter evidence to pass that ball back and get reasonable doubt to show that you're innocent. Right? So if they've already convinced somebody, you're going to need some evidence to put them the other way. I hope that's how people have understood this. And if all of the facts are pointing towards guilt, it is not a stretch of the imagination to say it's what we call a slam dunk case, despite the existence of the concept of reasonable doubt. Concept of reasonable doubt does not mean that you can never say someone is guilty. Can never say this person is definitely guilty of this. That's not necessarily what that means, right? Before there's an adjudication, right? There are many cases in which everybody knows the person did it. It's clear. There's an evidence, and you can say, yep, this person is guilty. And this person, and you can say, I predict this person will be found guilty. That's the most accurate statement. It's the most clear statement. Now, you can't say they're convicted yet, although in the Korean system, based on the way the pleas work, when you actually plead guilty, it's there. It's not defamatory to say this person will be convicted because it's locked in. Good question, though. Very good question. Vortex Cross for 10 says, hey, Andrew, in the eventuality of Hank kicking his side trick to the curb, does RK have any sort of legal recourse like tenants' rights or similar laws? What can he do if he ends up on the streets? Nothing. No, he does not have tenants' rights. He does not have squatters' rights in Hank's apartment. That's not a thing in Korea. That's not a thing in Korea. This is not California, right? This is not California. We're not getting that level of squatters' rights. Suspect 333 for 10 Oz says, Johnny seems to think the U.S. Embassy is going to help him because they were in court. No, they were not in court. They were not. That's false information. So once again, if you're listening to RKI for information, you are wrong. Danny Skier for 40 Thai Bot CDOI says, Off-Grid Secrets was in PH and said he'll be out soon. Okay, I guess I'll have to look into that one. I guess it's another news streamer. Keith says, hey, Andrew, have a great stream. All the best from Orlando. Thanks. From the Magic City, from the beautiful city of Orlando. I used to live down by Lake Eola. Beautiful city. Fun for $4.99 says, doesn't Hank know that RKI is using it? RKI will drop Hanky Poo like a rock in a minute. Hank, you're being used by a poo troll. He knows, and he kind of likes it because they're using each other for different things. Lord Maury for $19.99 says, people like Somali are bad for tourists because they warp different countries' view of Americans. I agree. Contrary to leftist views, Americans were viewed favorably. We're basically the golden retrievers of the world. Look, I'll put it this way. I've been to over 100 countries. I have never had somebody be rude explicitly because I'm an American. However, I have had people surprised I'm an American. Let me give you an example from literally last week. I was on one of the islands here, Koh Samui, and I was talking to this guy. He was an Israeli guy. We were in the same bus. And, he needed to get dropped off at immigration. We were having a little conversation. I'm like, oh, what, are you on a visa? Are you doing a visa run? What's going on? And he's trying to set up a business here. He's trying to eventually convert to a business visa. But he was surprised. He's like, I can't believe you're an expat living here. And I'm like, why? He's like, I've never met an American that lives here. And I'm like, well, there's lots of us in Bangkok, but maybe not so much in Koh Samui, right? Or down in Samut Prakan area, right? But he was just surprised. He's like, wow, you're an American who's here. He's like, yeah, I haven't seen that. Usually Americans just come as tourists and they leave, or they come for a short period of time and they leave. They don't, set up businesses here, etc. So people can be surprised, but that's not rude. I don't get offended by that. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So, to be honest, a lot of the times if somebody is rude, they're just a rude person in general. It doesn't matter whether you're French or German or Canadian or Norwegian. They're just going to be rude. Most people who have good attitudes tend to be nice to most people. That's what I've just found as a general observation. Danny Skier, member for 4 months. Andrew, 40 equals CC, 400 CDOI again. Oh, I did it again. I'm probably a little tired. It's been a long day. I had a lot to do today. I was getting a checkup today. I was running around town. I was doing a lot of errands. So I'm a little tired. If I make a slip up, I do apologize. It happens sometimes. Robert Von Beek for 20. Legal Mindset membership. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Neko Girl 862 says, not that anyone cares, but I fixed the sewing machine. Oh, I do care. Congratulations. Some material got stuck, but I finally got it free. Awesome. C Chan for 698 Singapore says, Ramsey vasectomy times 5. Hi, Ramsey. You will probably have your prison sentence extended while in prison, given the crimes you are committing right now. Michael Rua for 599 says, innocent until proven guilty, and first you have some sort of defense. All I'm saying is you start innocent. If the prosecution presents zero evidence, you're going to be innocent because you're innocent of proven guilty. If they provide proof that you are guilty, maybe you should submit counterproof, right? Until proven guilty. If they've submitted enough to prove the crime, right? Innocent until proven guilty. If they've proven you guilty, shown evidence of the crime, you now need to counter that. And my whole response was, Ramsey's lawyer said in court they have no evidence of no proof of innocence. So the prosecution has, in my mind, presented enough evidence to prove Ramsey guilty. So, and if Ramsey has nothing, then all roads lead to conviction and all roads lead to sentencing. That's what I'm saying. Jopi for 100 Swedish krona says, Americans aren't viewed as golden retrievers. They see it as pit bulls with guns, right versus left. It's the only seen a problem in how the administration teach other countries. Yeah, I mean, look, everybody has different perception of Americans. There's actually this really good chart on like countries that really love America, countries that don't love America, whatever. But by and large, like I said, as an American, I have not had any major problems, and I've traveled to many, many, many countries, more than most people in the world. I've traveled a lot, right? So it's not been a huge problem. I have not hit an issue where me being an American has been worse than me being anybody from the West or anybody, from North America, right? Brian says, what's really sad is Hank's mom never got him the mental health treatment he needs. He was SA'd as a minor, which was really, really messed up. And he admits that, by the way. He talks about that. And it's clearly neurodivergent. His mom needs to get him mental help. It needed to happen a long time ago. Keith says, for any tourists, people who love to rip off America, especially in poor countries, best thing is to buy everything before you get there. I haven't had too much of a problem, although I do, for most trips, bring what I need. If you know the way around and you have kind of people there, then that makes it easier. Usually I try to have friends in that country, and that usually lets me navigate things just fine. I like going to the local grocery store, stuff like that, with them, and never had a problem. Oliver van den Nacht for €6 says, I don't like Ramsey, but I don't think he deserves 30 years, 4 years. Okay, so Oliver, put a pin in that. Today we're giving the realistic prediction, the actual real prediction for how many years I think he's going to get. So put a pin in that and see if this lines up with your expectation. Alex, I'm going to answer this question today because we're literally talking about the guidelines. So just hold on, bro. Hold on. All right. This is a good meme before we start out here. We have this really good meme from my locals. So I do appreciate this one over there on my locals. Good bunch over there. Vote RKI for the cabbage field. So thank you guys for all the good memes. I always appreciate the good ones. Thank you for that. That's courtesy of Veggiehan. Let's get into the PowerPoint and some of my disclaimers here. Now, of course, I've got a PowerPoint. But this is, of course, the sentencing estimate, which is just an estimate. So first of all, we are basing this on the 2024 Korean criminal sentencing guidelines. So this is something that we had not previously translated and we had not previously worked on. The Somali conviction team, once again, the people that you guys have been supporting and through your Ko-Fi donations and through support of this channel, has finally got around to translating that. So we've been able to get a updated amount. Before this, I didn't know what those guidelines were. I didn't even know if they existed, right? I didn't know if Korea had them. I didn't know if they existed. I don't know what was going on there. We now have them. We went through the whole thing, translated them, looked at them. This is the 2024 version. So this could change in 2025. They update them yearly. This trial is going to go past July of 2025. So the guidelines could be updated. I don't think it's going to get any lighter. I think if anything, it may get worse. It's not going to get lighter. So yeah. And this is based on our interpretation and understanding. So I am going to give you an overall estimate, a combined estimate of how many years I think this guy's going to get. It's still our interpretation. The judge is the person who ultimately decides. So if the judge decides to vary and go rogue and do something different, That's within the judge's power. Guidelines are, of course, guidelines. They're not a straitjacket, but judges do tend to follow these guidelines and tend to follow the parameters. So just understand that's the preface to all of this. And just to show you guys that I am not making this stuff up, that this stuff is coming from somewhere, you can see right here. Now, obviously, it's in Korean. But you can see there's actually a little bit of English where it says sentencing guidelines. You can kind of see that on the top. These are the sentencing guidelines. You can see July 1st, 2024, right over here. Nice thumbnail. And you can go through that. There's a lot of pages, 901 pages, because there's a lot of different crimes to go through, right? A lot of different crimes. So we went through and got the relevant crimes. So what are the relevant crimes from the what were the relevant crimes from the trial? We've got really two. We've got obstruction of business and we've got deepfakes, right? Obstruction of business and deepfakes. We're going to start with obstruction of business. Okay. So what is this little table at the top? First of all, this is for one charge. And by the way, this is not Google Translate. This is actual Translate, right? So that's why it took a little while. Okay. This is the different levels of sentencing that are likely for obstruction of business. You've got mitigated, which means if all of the factors are good boy, if he looks like a good boy, then it would be a mitigated case. If it's just a default, he's neither good nor bad. He's just a normal boy. It's default. Aggravated is bad boy. Aggravated is he's doing things wrong. He's doing things bad. That's aggravated. And these numbers are for one count. So at the end, I'm going to make a calculation based on how many counts we have. Remember, we have 3 counts of obstruction and 2 counts of deepfakes. And we are going to presume, for purposes of this thought exercise, that they prove him guilty on all the charges. That is a safe assumption because they have a 98% conviction rate. And because Ramsey has absolutely no way to wiggle out of these charges, right? So let's get into this a little bit deeper here. Okay. Let me answer some of these super chats here, though. QB says for 10, should I have popcorn ready for the inevitable K-drama when Hank has to flee the country to dodge his military service and RKI is booted to the street? That would be funny. Jopie says, how people treat you as an individual is way more related to the mannerisms and body language. That's true. It's not like people will assume you're American just because you're white in IRL. No, exactly. There's plenty of white people from all over the world. There's white Brazilians, right? So, there's people all over the world that might have my skin color and complexion. However, you can't really assume that based on just one-shot physical looks, but you can do stuff like style, how you count, how you speak, how you talk, how you act. I think, if people watch me long enough, they'll figure out I'm American, but they usually have to observe a little bit. Jopie says, as a continuation of the previous super, I did views of individuals is simply different from the views of countries and the population as a whole. That's true. Let's see here. Dorinda says, my girlfriend's parents were worried I was treated bad when I visited them at their home in Tokyo because of all the bad tourist news streamers. Yeah, I know a lot of people are worried for visiting Japan and Korea right now because of the news streamers and Asia in general. And they're on the lookout for them. And that's because of people like Johnny, people like Somali, people like Ice Poseidon that have been causing problems in the region. Gary Lee says, for $4.99 from NYC, I personally will not trust Hank in the military because his criminal history with guns in the USA. I'm afraid he may go on a rampage. That is true. But once again, he's in Korea, not in the U.S. Nicholas Atkins says, poll suggestion, which will happen first? RKI trial ends or Vitaly trial starts? Oof. That would be funny if the RKI trial ends when Vitaly starts. The middle way for 50,000 Indonesian rupiah says, does RKI get a judge or jury? Judge. It is only a judge. Hello from Indonesia. We'll be listening while trying to sleep. Cool. Well, hopefully you sleep well. Dwayne Diesel says, I heard Vitaly being read Miranda rights by Philippine police. Was that just to be nice and They have the same rights in Korea. It was a little different. I mean, obviously, Vitaly was arrested and detained. Somali is not detained because that's not the style of Korea. They allow people to be out while the trial is ongoing. Hayden says for 5, hey, hi, Andrew. Do you know if RKI will have supervised release like parole and how long he would have to do? No, that would not happen. He either will have a suspended sentence or not. And I'm going to talk about the suspended sentence thing. PB0986 for 299 says, why were the reps? They were not. Once again, people are listening to misinformation from Ramsey. Don't listen to misinformation from Ramsey. So there's nobody there for him at all. Okay. Let's continue with this. All right. So let's look at the punishment here. So if this was a good boy case, he could get a fine or up to 8 months for obstruction. Once again, this is for one charge. Then the default is 6 months to a year. So in a neutral scenario, you get 6 months to a year behind bars for obstruction of business. If it is bad, if it's a bad case, you get 1 year to 3.5 years for obstruction of business for, once again, just one case. So we're going to look at some mitigating and aggravating factors and see whether this is a good boy case or a bad boy case. So let's look at some mitigating factors. Cases where there is a special reason to consider participation in the crime. So this will be reasons where it's very sympathetic, right? Like, let's say someone's mother is dying of cancer and they needed to do this. That is not what we have here. Cases where the motive for the crime can be considered. So once again, sympathetic case. Cases where the power hierarchy and obstruction of business is minor. Doesn't apply. Cases where the crime is committed through negligence, not what happened. Cases where Ramsey, is he deaf or mute? Nope. Does he have true diminished mental capacity? Nope. And by the way, not self-inflicted means not drunk. So being drunk is not, or on drugs is not a factor for diminished mental capacity. Does he voluntarily surrender himself? Nope, he didn't do that. Did he have no desire for punishment, or did the victim have no desire for punishment or restitution? That's not true at all. They actually, most places want him to pay. Was he a passive participator? Nope. He was the ringleader. He was the leader. He was the person who was out there as the number one, not an accomplice. Did he have genuine remorse? And here's the word right now, genuine remorse. Does he have no prior criminal record? And here's another one. Did he pay them back already? Substantial restitution made? Nope. So none of these mitigating factors apply. 0. Let's look at aggravating. Once again, mitigating makes it better for Johnny. Aggravating makes it worse. When the offender actively led or directed the commission of the crime. This is Ramsey 100%. Ramsey actively led or directed the commission of the crime. When the method of committing the crime was particularly heinous. Well, for some of these obstructions, remember, if we're going to talk about heinous, playing obscene music and text-to-speech around women and children, shutting down a ride, being vile, ignoring the instructions from staff multiple times. Yeah, can be considered heinous. When the crime targeted unspecified or multiple victims, yes, it affected many people, or was repeatedly committed over a considerable period. This is the thing. We have 3 charges. This is 100% aggravating. When the degree of obstruction was severe, when there's a blameworthy motive for the crime. So clout, internet clout, and fame and money are blameworthy, are definitely looking blameworthy. If this is a repeat offense. So once again, remember, this is a repeat offense because he's convicted of multiple charges, right? So these things stack. If there was, let's see here, different sort of violations here, and also if he led to harm during a settlement attempt. So for obstruction of business, this is looking a lot more aggravated and not really mitigated. So we already have one where, once again, walking through the factors, it's looking like this is worse for Ramsey rather than better for Ramsey. And that's just the first one. We're going to get to deep fakes because that one's a little bit more complicated, right? We're going to get to this. Darmosh says, is bad mental enough reason not to go to the military? It would have to be pretty bad. It'd have to be pretty bad. Red Rabbit says for £2, could Hanky Boo bail on RKI or is it too late? No, he can always leave RKI. He's not stuck with them. They're not married. Angel Chase says, cool to see similar graduation of penalties. Yeah, it's really cool. Philippines has a similar, right? Axie for 10 says he shall rot in a cell. God's will it. Deuceville. Big Buddhist for 2 says RKI is a bad boy. Insert Cops theme song. What you gonna do? That's a good theme song. Scotty Bui says, how come other people leave Korea when they do the same thing and Johnny's doing? He had a travel ban. So with Johnny, he got caught by a travel ban. And the proof is in the pudding with his buddy Gino, his homeboy Gino, who managed to escape a day before he did because he didn't have a travel ban, but Johnny got caught. And Gino was pretty much doing all the same stuff with him. So that kind of shows Johnny got particularly caught, but because Johnny wanted the clout and Johnny wanted the fame and Johnny wanted the infamy, even the negative stuff. Bronwyn, thank you for the 10 legal mindset memberships. Let's do a little...
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Make sure to smash that like button. It is much appreciated. Kate Kerbal says, does this room temperature IQ not give diminished capacity insanity plea? No. Even with that low IQ, it's not that low. It's not diminished. Tommy Elkin says, I have an idea for a cabbage edit, which I may or may not be capable of producing. If I am, do you have preferred video codec? If you do MP4, that'll work out for me. Thank you. Virtual Baker for £2 says, do you think the U.S. would ever help them out? Nope, they are not. Brian B says, I hope Koreans don't hold this against all U.S. folks. They don't. Bronwyn says, every time Hanky Poo talks, you can literally see his brain skipping. It's painful to watch. Just saying, I thought he was having a stroke the other day or having a spasm or something. He was not looking good. There was something mental. He had like a brain skip and he kind of like glitched out. He's got some wires that are tangled up there. Okay. Let's go with the deep fix. Now, I'm going to show you this video. Now, this video has been censored. It's about the same censorship level as the Korean media is censored. But this is Johnny with the deep fake. And I want to remind you guys, when we talk about the deep fakes, remember, the harm to the victim is very much looked at. And this was not something that Johnny showed without premeditation. He showed it with a very specific motive to prove that Bong Bong was his girlfriend. Watch this.
Let me show you my girlfriend. You want to see my girlfriend? Look at this. I have a Korean girlfriend. I don't know why you guys want to attack me. Even I have a Korean girlfriend. She's a streamer. Bong Bong IRL. This is my girlfriend. I have a girlfriend. This is my girlfriend. Bong Bong IRL. I have a Korean girlfriend. Why are you attacking me? This is my girlfriend. Bong Bong IRL, that's my girlfriend. Look how she drives me around in the car. My girlfriend, Bong Bong IRL.
He says it multiple times.
Come on, you'll fucking dates.
And then he shows and I'm not going to show this. It's actually, I have it censored here. So this is the censorship you see there. But he shows it there with the intention of proving it's his girlfriend, which is particularly what you would call heinous, meaning bad, right? It is not good that he did that. And absolutely, that is what you would call an aggravating factor. An aggravating factor. She never asked for that. She never asked for any of that. She never asked to be referred to like that. So, Somali went down the wrong road there. Okay. And let me just make sure I got everything set up here. Okie dokie. All right. So let's get back to this grid. So we've got the sentencing guidelines for the deepfakes. Now, this one is very important for you guys to pay attention to because there are 3 categories of being charged for deepfakes. There is production of a deepfake, distribution of a deepfake, and distribution for commercial purposes. So if you made a deepfake, you fall under number 1. If you sent a deepfake, you under 2. Now, these can be separate, right? So if you sent it alone and you did not create it, you would fall under 2. If you created it and you did not send it, you would be under 1, right? And if you sent it for money and you distributed it for money, meaning you streamed, that's number 3. And you can see here the penalties are much worse. The penalties are much, much, much worse for number 3. There's no fine. It's mandatory prison time. Mandatory. Right? So Johnny is going to fall under number 3. 100%. 100%. There's no doubt in my mind that this guy's going to be number 3 because, once again, he was making money. We have him on camera making money. We have his text-to-speech. And we have clear proof that it was making money at the time in which you said it. I'm going to get a couple of these comments and we're going to move. Ryobi said RKI is like Catliente and has no idea what they're talking about. RKI is in the law. Catliente's talking about VTube. In reality, hits them. They're double down on terrible takes. That's indeed right. Alexis Artemis Green Howard, the first for 500. Is that MKD? That's one I may not know right off the top of my head. A donut for your team's next group lunch. Tell them not to eat a cabbage. Thank you. Random Recruit says, it's insanity plea. I argued to catch 22. Rate of Storm says, I might have missed you talking about it, but a friend said he's threatened to kill the judge, not kill the judge. He threatened the judge. He said F the judge and F the judge's mother, and he threatened to come to the judge's house and threaten the judge's mother's house. Carl Crump for 5 says, I'll smash that like button. I'll smash that like button hard, and you will like it. Suspect says, does history in other countries hurt him? Yes, they can consider that. Rhett Dilly said, if you're his judge, how would you sentence him? Aggravated. Mr. Appleboom for €2 says, the 2 dislikes are RK and Hanky. Hi from an NL. Yeah, Hank and Johnny always dislike the stream. Circadian Izzy says, is RKI's low IQ fully confirmed, or is that something we say for funsies? True or not? It is funny. No, he's actually not stupid, which actually makes it worse. Jopi says for 200 Swedish krona, this is to clear up for people. Views of a country is not based on any one individual, not even one as influential as Trump. It's based on exported culture, which U.S. exports more than any other culture. As a continuation, it's also something that builds up over time. And the amount of information people learn of our country with population is based on both its past and present. Yeah, sure. If you ask people, here's the difference. If you ask people their view of a country, and this is getting off track, but once again, it's a live. We do get off track. That's what we do. It's the live versus a summary. If you want a quicker version, watch the fast facts. It'll be out in about 45 minutes. When you say country, everything that comes along with that country is bundled in. So if you say, what do you think of Spain or Italy or Russia or Germany or China or America or Japan, you don't just think of Japanese people, you think of culture, you think of food, you think of history, you think of all sorts of things associated with that country. If you say, what do you think of Americans, right, as a people, or even more specifically, this American? And remember, when you're traveling usually as an individual, right? You're not coming on behalf of your country. You're not part of some big delegation, some official grand delegation. You're a dude wearing maybe a Hawaiian shirt on an island, right? You're a human being, and most human beings tend to treat other human beings with respect. I found this is true all over the world. Genuinely, I do believe human beings face to face, not on the internet, face to face, people tend to be courteous and tend to be nice. That is the tendency. There are exceptions to that, but generally they tend to be nice. Now, what is nice in different cultures can vary, right? Not every culture is big into smiling and, all that. I'm in Thailand, the land of smiles, right? But there's plenty of other countries where smiling isn't a huge thing, but the people can still be happy and still be friendly and still be warm, even if they're not, smiling ear to ear every second. That said, there are differences there, of course. But I will still stick with, if you're friendly, you're nice, you respect the culture, you're going to have a good experience no matter where you go. Good questions, though. McZulian says, have you ever traveled to South America? Yes. Which countries? Almost all of them. Except for, I'm in Uruguay, Bolivia, Ecuador, and Paraguay. So, except for those. Love to visit Argentina. Yes, I need to get back to Argentina. I was in Buenos Aires for a very short period of time. I need to get back. I did not spend enough time in Argentina. Love your updates. Always watching them. Send much love. Yeah, awesome. Thank you for the 100 Argentina. Ryobi said, but Legal Mind said Johnny has a 99 lose streak. It's true. Robert Von Beek for €6 says, how far do you think blameworthy motive extends? TTS for money is blameworthy to me. There goes his defense for Look the World. Yes, I think TTS for money. I think if his motive is money and clout on the internet, that is blameworthy in the eyes of Korea. It's not the opposite of that would be if you were trying to save your dying son and you stole the cure for cancer, right? This is not that case. This is not stealing a loaf of bread to feed your hungry child. This is him doing it for internet money and clout and trying to be famous. And thinking he's going to get away with it, by the way. Big Buddha says, just sent a plushie link to your email. Thank you. Rottweiler said, what's his plan to fight the deepfake charge? He doesn't have one. Capacura says, if insult is a crime, could the judge file a report? Can we snitch to immigration about him streaming and earning? We're turning in all the information we can. We're doing as much as we can on that with the Somali conviction team. And if you want to support the Somali conviction team, which, by the way, was the one that translated this and is getting this accurate information, you can head on over to the Ko-Fi that's pinned in the chat. I'll pin it in the comments afterwards. Ko-Fi/Andrew Esquire, and support the Somali conviction team. They do really great work. Scotty Bui says, well, thank you for your hard work and showing us what this loser is doing to make his life worth. You're welcome. Spark says, how do we write the court and judge demanding they receive maximum punishment? We'll see if that's appropriate. It's not at that phase yet. Let's let it percolate a little bit. You don't want to overwhelm the judge and the jury with sentencing stuff at this point. I think it's a little premature. Michael McCoy says, follow up from earlier. I'm in Anchorage. It is currently getting around 60 F. The snow has been gone for some time. Thank you. Oh, cool. Rian Imes says, RK Infotainment. I'd buy that for $1 twice. That's true. All right, let's get back to this chart. So mitigating factors. Extenuating circumstances for involvement in the crime. Well, we don't have a good excuse. Here's another one. Content of the edited, synthesized, or processed or reproduced video is difficult to recognize or similar cases. So in this case, we do not have a deep fake where we don't know who's in it. We literally have him saying, this is Bong Bong IRL, and this is me. So it was clear who this person was, and he did it repeatedly, right? Which is actually aggravated, not mitigated. So let's go over here. Blameworthy motive. We talked about this. Robert Von Beek sent a super chat. Doing text-to-speech and doing this for money is blameworthy, aggravated. The method is heinous. So by saying you're her boyfriend is a particularly heinous thing to do because it puts her in a romantic personal relationship with you in which you've now represented you're doing sexual acts and you're trying to use her to absorb the blame of the Korean people. Vulnerable victim. Harm, the crime caused severe harm to the victim. Once again, reputational damage is enough. Let's go down here. What would be mitigating if he had genuine remorse, no prior criminal record, if he cooperated with investigation, if there was substantial restitution, meaning he paid them back? He has done none of these things. All of these things are false. He has a criminal record because he will have multiple charges. There's no remorse, there's no cooperation, and he's paid no one back. If he was a passive participator, nope. Oh, let's look at what's aggravating. If he made a large amount of profit, well, he did make. So on his streams where he was streaming the deepfakes, he did make a lot of money. He made a lot of money, especially for his size. And here's another one. If you cause harm during settlement negotiations, that is an aggravating factor. So what did he do to Bong Bong? Do you guys remember? He tried to blackmail her during their negotiations, during talking with the victim. He tried to blackmail her and threaten her. And he said, I'm going to Uno reverse this on her. That's an aggravating factor. Right there in the guidelines. So blackmail, not looked at kindly. Not looked at kindly. Let's continue here with the amount. So if it was mitigated, and remember, this is just for one charge. It's just for one charge. We're going to calculate it. We have a table, putting it all together and calculating for one charge for distribution, because it's going to be under number 3 here. Even if it's mitigated, even if he was a good boy, he would get 4 months behind bars, up to a year and 4 months. Then, as a default, the normal is a year to 2.5 years for one charge. And then you have aggravated of 1.6 to 4 years. So the minimum 1.6, the max 4 for one charge. But we don't have one charge. We have 2. Now, once again, the way it works with multiple charges, and this gets in a little bit of a math land here, but the way the Korean statutes work and the sentencing guidelines work is when you have the first charge, you follow that guideline. With the second charge, you take 50% of the guideline for that range. So let me make a clear example for you. So if the guideline for charge number 1 says 1 year, 50% of 1 year is 6 months. So if you had 3 charges and the first one, it was recommended 1 year, the second is 6 months, the third is 6 months, the total is 2 years. Got that math? Are we on the same page? It's a little bit weird. It's how the Korean statutes work. I just kind of learned this recently. So we're going to apply this now that we've learned it. We're going to apply this now. A little bit of math, but we're going to do it for you here on the Legal Mindset. And we have that in my PP. My PowerPoint has the math that we put together for you, and we double checked it. Okay? So here is the math, putting everything together. Okay? The sentencing range. This is the accurate amount. For obstruction of business, and once again, we're talking mitigated, default, aggravated minimum, and aggravated maximum. We're going to get there. So for mitigated, for obstruction of business, that would be a fine. They would give them a fine. For default is 1 year. For aggravated is 2 years. For aggravated maximum is 5 years. Once again, remember, 3 charges. This is because there are 3 charges. And the maximum can be no more than the maximum available punishment. So when you have multiple crimes, you cap out at whatever the maximum is for that crime, which is why the maximums are sometimes higher. For deepfakes, the minimum is 6 months if he's a good boy. 1 year and 6 months, default. 2 years, 3 months, aggravated minimum. And the maximum, 7 years. So the total, assuming he's guilty for everything, 6 months would be the least time he would do, even if he got on his knees, he said he's sorry, he's a good boy, he expressed genuine remorse, he paid everyone back, the judge found everything in his favor, 6 months. Default, that's normal, 2 years, 6 months. Aggravated minimum, 4 years and 3 months. Aggravated maximum, 12 years. So my guess, if you guys remember, I was guessing around 5 to 10 would be reasonable. So 4 years and 3 months to 12 months, because I think this is going to be aggravated. I think this is going to be in the aggravated category. This, I think, is the range, and this, I think, is very accurate. This, I think, is very, very accurate. So I'm relying on that. Now, there can be more charges. And if there are more charges and they're different charges, then we may be able to move that range higher. Let's see. So let me get some of the questions. Then we're going to talk about the suspended sentence, because there's actually a guideline for when you give out a suspended sentence or not. So we're going to talk about that, because suspended sentence is one of the only ways he could get off and get out of it. Darth Torlin says a new song for the Bong Bong deepfake. It goes, claim she was your girl, then why the fake kiss? That ain't love, Ramsey. That's a legal disgrace. I like it. Juppy 1992 says, okay, sorry, Andrew, but the last one has thought of it. No matter where you're from, as long as you don't act like a stereotype, then you won't be treated like a stereotype. Manners maketh man. It's true. If you act polite, you're going to be treated politely. It's really weird that works. But I think that's been cross-cultural. And if you make an attempt to be polite in that culture, you are generally treated okay. And it's a genuine attempt. Dwayne Diesel says, are you able to interview Vitaly in jail? I want to see if he was able to, still has that goofy mocking look on his face, or if he suffered and repentant. So there was somebody that was going to interview him, but it was like the guards and the staff at the prison wasn't sure whether or not they should allow an interview or not. And if they allow one, then they might have to allow more. So I think they probably are going to side on the not interviewing Vitaly. But if there is an interview, I'll let you guys know. I may not do it, but maybe Eric, who's a good friend of mine, the guy who confronted Vitaly, he might go back in there and do it himself, which would be pretty crazy. Ryobi says, RKI having a GF. Nah, he got his lobster roll hanky. Remember he said in the K-Town stream that he's into femboys, who in this relationship got turned into a dry biscuit like in Red Lobster. Yeah, no, he's already admitted all the Ramsey stuff. That's all out there. Sir Mir Jung Frauman for 10 says, I'm planning a 4-week trip next year around Korea and Japan. I was thinking to do some vlogging, but I don't want people to mistake me for one of those RKI or Vitaly. Greeting from Luxembourg. Just be respectful, and if it says no filming, don't film. And try not to get anybody, try to get yourself on film and like people who want to be on film. And if you're in a business, ask for consent. If you're in a business, ask for them to ask to film. That's it. It's very simple, especially a small family business. Michael Rua says, as Atozi said for $5.99, it's fascinating how some people make use of freedom of speech. You know, and not every jurisdiction is a freedom of speech jurisdiction. People need to get over that because it's true. Alexis Artemis Green Howard the first for 250 says, any charges for Hanky Poo yet? Can they lock him up for not serving the army? He's using loopholes to get out of the army service. I don't think he has any charges yet. Juan Mojito says, for the fake images, can he be charged separately for production and distribution of the same images? I don't know exactly how they package that. We're actually going to have to find out how they've gone after that, but certainly they're adding in the commercial motive. Marshall J. Cooper says, RKI fingers in legal mindset's mouth gets helpful PowerPoints. Razor Wire Piercing says if he's given time, he can still get fines. Yes, and he can still commit crimes right now. Christian Case, thank you for the $0.99. Rhett Dilly for $1.99 said, what motivated you to become a lawyer? I fought it till one of my my girlfriends at the time when I was in my master's program, she was going to law school and she said, take the LSAT. And without studying, when I was hungover and you know, I literally got drunk the night before, took it, and I did really good. And I said, wow, if I took this seriously, I could do even better. So I really studied for it. I like really actually studied instead of just like not studying at all, drinking before and just walking into it. And I did really even better enough for a scholarship. And that is the rest of the story. I actually resisted it all my life. People told me I'd be a really good lawyer. And because people told me that, I didn't want to do it. But then I realized that's dumb and I should do what I'm good at. And it ended up working out very well and ended up finding the things I like, corporate law, real estate. And those really gelled with me. And I had some really lucky opportunities with my jobs to do some really cool stuff. And I'm really thankful for that. TK37 for €5 says, how would they go below the maximum if he continued his behavior after the process started? I don't get it. They can sentence him anywhere in that range. So let me just put this up here. Let me pull this up one more time because I think you guys are missing out on what I'm saying. So they can, if they decide, the first thing they have to decide, ladies and gentlemen, is they have to decide, is he a good boy? Is he a normal boy? Or is he a bad boy? And I'm assuming he's guilty of everything. So the decision is he a good boy, a normal boy, or a bad boy, a bad boy? Let's assume he's a bad boy. Then this is the range. The least they can give him is 4 years and 3 months. The most is 12. It's a range. The judge has discretion within that range. And what you're saying is, why wouldn't they give him the maximum? Well, that's up to the judge. The judge might say, well, maybe this isn't a maximum situation. Maybe it's a less than maximum situation. You know, and giving him the max might be too much, right? And by the way, Christian, this is incorrect. There's no more 30 years. So 30 years is now incorrect. So now the maximum is really 12 years. It's 12 years and 30 days. That's the recalculated maximum. So all the old stuff that I said, and by the way, this invalidates my own old information. Because once again, guys, I am intellectually honest with you. If I find new information, I update you. And this is why in these PowerPoints, I often date them, because my newest PowerPoint will always override all the old stuff. So all that 36 years, that's all gone. We now have a new maximum, and that's 12. That's 12. Why no more 30 years? Go rewind this whole thing, Naja, and pay attention. This is the sentencing guidelines for Korea. These sentencing guidelines have maximums, minimums. There's also other rules, such as Articles 37, 38, 39, and 40 of the Korean Criminal Code. And those limit the amount of years behind bars you can spend for the same types of crimes. So if you go on a spree and it's the same types of crimes, they don't sentence you as severely. So multiple charges for the same thing. They call those compound crimes. Compound crimes. Yeah. Okay. So in other words, you fought the law, but the law won. Yes, the law did win. Alex said, maybe my humanity is showing, but is it kind of odd? I kind of feel bad for Hank and looking handsome, bro. No dono. Thank you. By the way, this suit is one of my Somali suits. I got this in Cheongnam in Seoul. This is one of my Somali suits, bought and paid for by Somalis, funding it through his bad activities, which I cover and profit from. So thank you, Somali, for the suit. Once again, I got a lot of Somali suits. Kuhner says, I've been a bad boy, wink, wink. Well, you're going to get some aggravated sentencing. Ryobi said, bad boy. Nah, he's a cabbage boy. Gary Lee says from 199, if Korea charges Gina for sexual assault extradition, no. I don't think they're doing it. I don't think they're extraditing Gino. I really don't. If they do, I'll eat cabbage. But I don't think they're extraditing Gino. Chaos Smash says, Hank constantly asks Johnny if he's a bad boy. That's weird. That sounds like a kink. Spark68 says, reading articles 37 to 50, does prison normally include hard labor? It can. And Lord God, for 5 Canadian, says, what would be the motivation for a lesser and greater sentence? Why not throw the book at him? It's up to the judge. Let's look at some of the factors for a suspended sentence, and you'll be able to see what they might be looking at. Also, somebody asked in my locals, can they call witnesses to testify about the severity of issues? Yes. So that's a whole separate day where they call witnesses as related to sentencing. Okay. Let's get into suspended sentence. So this is a translation of the considerations the judge goes through when considering whether to give a suspended sentence, which means a sentence that's essentially like parole, where you kind of get out and you don't have to actually serve it. For obstruction of business, they would look at, there's aggravating versus mitigating, once again. So if the method of the crime is egregious, that's aggravating. If there's mitigating circumstances, that's mitigating. If there's multiple victims, it's aggravating. If the motive is reprehensible, that's aggravating. Once again, clout and money, pretty reprehensible. Let's just do the aggravating first. If there's 2 or more prior sentences, if he has a lack of social ties, if he has drug or alcohol addiction, if there is absence of general remorse, if there is premeditation of the crime, if there's a leading role, if there's concealment of evidence, if there is no effort to restore damages, and if you cause harm during settlement attempts. He's done a lot of these, not all, but almost all of these. So all of these aggravating factors, things that lead to you not getting a suspended sentence, yeah, he's got those. He doesn't have the the mitigating factors, such as genuine remorse, spontaneous commission. No, he planned the crimes. Clear social ties, bad health, passive participation, or substantial restoration of damages, paying people back. He's done none of this. None of this stuff. So, to be honest, nothing there for suspending that sentence. Let's look at deepfakes. What would this consider as mitigating, suspending the sentence for deepfakes? Let's look at aggravating first. Let's look at aggravating, which makes it worse, meaning they're going to give towards the maximum, not forgive him. The method of committing the crime is egregious. The crime targets unspecified or multiple people or was repeatedly committed. He repeatedly committed it. It victimized vulnerable individuals. Prior convictions of the same type, including sex crimes. Motive for the crime is reprehensible. The motive is pretty bad in this case. Money, clout, and also blackmail. Severe harm to the victim. Lack of social ties, absence of remorse, no effort to restore damages, substantial illicit gains. Once again, he made money. Drug or alcohol addiction, leading role, concealment of evidence, which he did do, and harm during settlement attempts. Everything that you see is aggravating. You don't have stuff like not being able to see the image, not being able to identify the image, a mitigating circumstance. You don't have genuine remorse. You don't have poor health. And you certainly don't have general cooperation with the investigation. He has done none of the things which would lead you to believe that he's going to get off easily, which leads me to believe that it's more likely that the book gets thrown at him than that he gets off scot-free. Because a lot of people, once again, they're kind of putting it in those two camps. Is the book getting thrown at him or he gets off scot-free? He's a lot closer to the book. But does that mean he's going to get the maximum of 12 years? Maybe not. Maybe not. Razula says, legal mindset to RK. Oh, by the way, the suit wasn't cheap. You ought to know. You bought it. That's right. That's right. He did buy it. Pilot Girl says, if RK gets more charge, will the maximum go up? Yes. If he gets different types of charges, especially, which is why we want to bring back that child sexual harassment charge, because it's a whole different category and it's by itself. So that would really up the maximum. That would be great. Torek Rama for 5 says, what is your favorite kind of legal sentencing system? What are the pros and cons? What makes Korea's better or worse than American? I don't want to give in a better or worse. It's just different. Obviously, if you're able to stack charges a little bit more aggressively, I think I might prefer if it was just you were allowed to stack the full maximum. So, to actually get to the 36. Instead, we're forced to reduce that 36 to really 12 here, which is what the real maximum cap is under Korean law. Bob says, I was curious as Korea is a unique legal system since they can charge RKI with CHS. They haven't, though, but they can. It's possible. We're trying to bring it back. With the updated laws that come from women's statutes, can they retroactively charge him or is that still outside? No, they cannot do that. That's ex post facto. They cannot do that. They cannot do that. Once again, I'll tell you what they can and can't do, but they can't go back and charge him for something by passing a law and then, retroactively making you guilty of that law. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. Fitty Tucker gifted Fitty Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Are you guys enjoying the stream today?
Every time I start to feel sorry for the guy, I rewatch him gloat about lying in Japanese court and getting away with it all. Sorry, but the mercy ship has already sailed, and we are and have submitted that evidence to the court. Johnny is not sorry evidence, and trust me, they will see that, and they will know. Rottweiler for 50 Mexican says, to RK's defenders, he brought himself into on himself. No one else put him in his current situation. It's on him. He shows no remorse. He deserves several years. Cody Trickster says, you're breaking my heart, Andrew. I was looking forward to 30 years without Mr. Ishmael. I know. But 4.5 to 12 is pretty good. Pretty good. Sailor Moon says it never ends with his tiring dum-dum act. No. Corey Spoford became a new member. Thank you. Cold Kid said, want maximum cabbage? I'll give you maximum cabbage. That's right. Let me make sure I got everything here. Oh, and by the way, a little note, none of these crimes are with hard labor, but CHS, child sexual harassment, did have hard labor. Also, in Korea, there are Miranda rights, and they actually even usually refer to them as that. It's kind of ironic. So there are Miranda rights in Korea. Xanawin says, you're right, RKI is aggravating. That's true. Hagfish says, for £5, Legal Mindset, please tell your connections at RKI's for the clout money. An I have no morals clip is seen by the judge and prosecutors for aggravated max sentencing. We're getting a lot of video in. They won't probably watch, look, they're not going to watch 6 hours of video, but they're going to watch clips. Cold Kid says, want maximum cabbage? I'll give you maximum cabbage. Rich OD for 10 says, does the fact that Korea wants to make an example of him, I think the judge will be the max. No? No. But there's a reason why you might not want to do the max, because you might not want to make it seem like you're being unnecessarily unfair. And once again, the max is 12 years. You could do 10 or 11 or 9 and be short of the max, but still have that's a very significant sentence. Bingo Coin says, for 240 Mexican, thank you, says, could you confirm if I'm getting this right? Were they previously reported 30 years based on how it's codified in law, but it's more realistic, i.e. 30 years in theory is possible? No. So I did close that, so let me pull this open one more time. Let me explain this very carefully, Bingo. The 30 was calculated on a bad formula, which is not accurate under Korea's sentencing guidelines. So take every other number you've heard before this, especially those from other channels, but even my own channel, and every other number is out the window right now. This is a recalculation, which is giving you the accurate numbers. So the only accurate range is this right now. This is the accurate range. So even if he's a good boy, the minimum will be 6 months, but the upper end is 12. The maximum is 12. So we're going from 6 months to 12. That's the accurate number. 6 months for good boy, 2 years and 6 months if that's okay, neither good nor bad. And then somewhere between 4 years and 3 months and 12 years if they find it's aggravated, if they hold him in that category. So just understand that. He is not sentenced today. The sentencing may not happen till late 2025 or 2026, but this is a prediction based on us reading the sentencing guidelines, which we translated, because I have a team, the Somali conviction team, who translated these documents. And they did a really great job of doing that. And I'm very thankful for them and very thankful for their support and their help. All right. Red Rabbit for £5 says, could Hanky Poo be tried as an accomplice as he owns a YouTube channel where he shares the videos any other way? Well, remember, a lot of these crimes were on Johnny Somali's own channel because these happened back in November, December, October of last year. So Hanky Poo hasn't streamed a lot of crimes yet on his own channel. But good thought. I like how you're thinking. Greg D, so I take it Korea doesn't do plea bargains. There's no plea bargains. Plea bargains do not exist in Korea. Silbury says Gamergate was 10 years ago. I can live with that. Off topic, but cool. Yeah, damn, there's a team. Yes, there is indeed a team. And if you guys appreciate information like this, you can go over to Ko-Fi/Andrew Esquire. We got 34% of this goal for supporting the RKI, the Somali conviction team. Thank you guys for all the supporters who've been generous with that and helping out. There are a lot of people like Dr. Ulrich, like his students, other folks that help out, and they do a great job of supporting me in this coverage. I cannot do this alone. In fact, this, especially today, this was mostly with the help of a good friend of mine on the SCT. Thanks for the clarification. Love the coverage. My pleasure. Ray Senpai for Ochan. The story has been one heck of a movie with a plot twist at every corner. A friend of mine also told me we should also send him to the army. Hank, yes. We should try to get Hank in the army. I do agree. Diana G says, watching you while working. Have a good day. Thank you. Michael Rua said the next couple months should be interesting. Oh, very interesting. Ruby said, wait, I think there's a place for RKI can flee. He can go to the island Amelia Earhart disappeared. I heard there's some lovely huge coconut crabs that Hank can't provide. RW for 99 says, rumor has that Hank has spread his blue cheese dressing on RKI's cabbage. Where's the emotional croutons?
Emotional cabbage.
For 6 months says, can they do 11 years and 11 months, not the max? Yes, they can do that. Anything less than 12. They could do anything. They could do 12 or less than 12. That is technically okay. Can we get cabbages in the chat? Let's do some cabbages. Let's do some lines of cabbage. All right. That's what we have for today. I will be on a short vacation it's kind of like a vacation / a little bit of a work trip, a little bit of work road trip for the next couple days. I may be able to get a member stream out tomorrow in the morning. It's possible. If I do that, it'll be my morning, your evening. So that's a maybe, like huge asterisk. But other than that, look out maybe for some recorded videos, some shorter length videos. I had a really great one on Russia disowning Vitaly. If you guys want to check that one out, they officially kind of kicked him to the curb in terms of disowning him. That's a good one to check out. Stick around. Fast facts, summary version here. You want to get the cliff notes, you want to get in a very small amount of time, stick around, get that one. Make sure you smash the like button and make sure you're not coping.
You are coping the seething. You just can't believe what you're seeing. Yes, you're coping the seething. The truth it is all day, and now you are more than you.